Hi guys, welcome back to Sports Management English. It is now week 7 of Sports Management English, so I hope you guys are doing well. We are almost 50% or more than 50% finished with Sports Management English this semester. I know it's a tough semester. A lot of you guys have a lot of stress, but we're almost done and almost at the end, almost summertime. Okay, so remember again, if you have any questions about the class, I really hope you guys will email me, or the best choice, come to Zoom class and talk. Yes, talk in Zoom class is very important. So I'm always putting men on the cover of our PowerPoint video presentation. So this time I'm putting some women on the front of our PowerPoint video presentation. Do you recognize these women? Yes, it was Korea's national basketball team from a few years ago. Very tough ladies. I think Korea's competitiveness in women's basketball is very high these past few years, although I don't know if many people watch it. What about you guys? Do you watch women's basketball? I think their fundamentals are like really good, and there's a lot of tall ladies in Korea, so I think Korean ladies basketball can be like really popular around the world. Um, in any case, so without further ado, let's get started. Remember again, you guys have questions about anything, please send me an email sometime. Um, okay, what do you guys think about this picture? Do you know who these guys are? I don't know. I think, although basketball is usually not considered one of Korea's most popular sports, I feel like the NBA's popularity is really growing in Korea, right? I see like a lot of guys in Namso University outside playing it, so I think that NBA's popularity is really growing here. And I saw the Chinese and Mongolian students, they definitely love the NBA. And I love the last guy there. Well, I used to love LeBron James of the Cavaliers, although he changed his team, so I'm not too interested in him anymore. But so what do you think about look at their bodies, what's on their bodies? Yes, that's right. They all have tattoos. What do you think about that? Looks good? Looks bad? Looks terrible? What do you think about tattoos in sports? When I when I was young, guys in sports were not allowed to have tattoos for the most part. It was not common for guys in sports to have tattoos. And I think like in Korea, it's still not really common, right? Or it's getting more common, but still not too common. So do you think it looks good? Looks bad? Looks like gangpe? Um, what do you think? NBA players with tattoos. Well, I know that a lot of people are big fans of PC games, although I know everybody likes FIFA, right? FIFA game. I see people playing FIFA all the time. Um, this game, NBA 2K16, well, the makers of this game for PlayStation and for um, Xbox, and I think there's a PC version as well, they are being sued. Do you know sue? You think maybe gosohada, right? Gosohada? Like in court, in the Bobwan, in the court, they're being sued for using copyrighted videos, copyrighted tattoos, I'm sorry, copyrighted tattoos. So they stole a copyrighted tattoo. Allegedly means we think, but it's not sure yet at the time this was published, okay? So it's a really famous game. It's licensed by NBA. Um, and for a while, the makers of this game were getting sued. Well, why? Why is it so bad to show the players tattoos in the game? Why is it so bad? Of course, people have tattoos, so if you remove the tattoos, it doesn't look like it's a good, accurate depiction of the game, right? Doesn't look like it's an accurate depiction of the game, of the NBA players. So who is LeBron without his tattoos, right? So I thought this was a kind of interesting problem for sports business majors. It's related copyright and marketing and a third-party license. Who has the right to these people's image? Okay. So in the game, you can kind of create your own player with their tattoos like this. So who do you think, who do these tattoos belong to? Whose property are these tattoos? Is this property of the players? Does LeBron James own his tattoos? Does Shaq own his tattoos? Do the designers, they created this game. They made these characters in the game. The characters are real people. So do the game designers own it? Does PlayStation own it? Or these are works of art. This art was created by tattoo artists, real tattoo artists who trained and studied really hard, and they made these tattoo designs from their mind. So maybe these tattoos belong to somebody else. Maybe these tattoo designs belong to somebody else. Who do they belong to, in your opinion? Who do they belong to, in your opinion? It's a kind of really difficult situation. It's something we don't really think about very often. It's something that we might not really think about very often. So think about, what's your opinion? Who do these belong to? So what is the argument really about? Well, just a quick summary of this says, a company called Solid Oak. So Solid Oak is a group of tattoo artists. They were paid to design and draw these tattoos on NBA players. Okay, so they say that they hold the copyright for this artwork. I think everybody knows what is copyright. So they design the art. They own this art. They own this art. Therefore, they say the company who makes the video game owes them money. So every time somebody picks this character with these tattoo players, then these tattoo artists should get money. And they said the game makers who made the game did not get their permission. They did not get their permission. Okay. So Solid Oak's legal argument says they have a copyright, and if you digitize, if you make your art into a game, is this allowed or not? Should the tattoo artist company, should they get paid? Since PlayStation is making money and Xbox, Microsoft is making money from these tattoos, should the tattoo artist get some of that money? Should the tattoo artist get some of that money? What do you think? What do you think about that? Yay or nay? Yes or no? It's kind of hard. I know you're not lawyers, but I thought it was a kind of interesting thing, especially if you like sports and if you like PC games and console games and so on. Then you might be kind of interested about this argument, right? You might be kind of interested about this argument. So what do you think? What do you think? So who owns this artwork? The tattoo artists, the players, the NBA, the game maker, PlayStation or Microsoft? Who owns it? Or does everybody have a part a little bit? It's kind of strange, right? You have this art on your body, but you don't own it. Hmm? Another question, what do you think about players getting tattooed? Like I said, when I was young, players were usually not allowed to get tattooed. They were usually not allowed to get tattooed. How about in Korean sports? Are the players allowed to get tattooed? Well, I know that in Korea, tattoos have grown in popularity. When I first came to Korea, it was like really hard to get, it was really hard. It wasn't common to see people tattooed. If you had a tattoo, every ajashi called you gangpei, right? Or jopok. But nowadays, I see a lot of young people with tattoos, and even they have tattoos on their neck. What do you think about sports players? Players who go out in front of Korea, in front of the world, and they play, they get tattooed. What do you think? Is it a good idea or a bad idea? And how about you? I know some of you guys do have tattoos, although I don't know if sports business ever has them, but do you have any tattoos? If you don't have any, would you ever get a tattoo? Would you ever choose to get a tattoo? Does that sound like a good idea to you or not? If you would get a tattoo or would not get a tattoo, why or why not? Why or why not? What design do you want? If you have an idea design you want, show us. Download a picture and show it to us. If we talk about it in the Zoom class, then you can show us your tattoo design. I think it would be kind of a fun activity. I know a lot of people have a hard time with tattoos because if you get a tattoo, you have it for life, right? You have it for life. So that can be a little bit hard to take for some people. Me too. Even I had many friends who make tattoos, who give tattoos. I never wanted to get too many tattoos because, well, I could never really choose a design that I really, really wanted. Maybe you're the same as me. Maybe you're the same as me, or maybe you're a little bit more brave than me. Okay, well, today we're going to talk again about getting a job abroad. Getting a job abroad. So we talked about going abroad, and many of you guys are going to study abroad, or you're going to play sports abroad, or you're going to work abroad, or at least you're going to travel abroad. So we're going to talk about some ways to get a job abroad, how to do it, and how it can be useful for you. So the first thing we're going to talk about, you need to learn the language and culture. Most of you guys are studying another language, usually English, but often Chinese, Japanese, or another language that's used in many places around the world. And in this class, we're trying to get familiar with the business culture of abroad, right? We're trying to get familiar with the business culture of abroad. So that is one important thing. We also need to prepare a resume or CV. What's a resume or CV? What's a resume? 이력서, right? 이력서. That can be, or does that mean just to continue? I can't remember. I always get the Korean vocabulary confused. Resume. In any case, a resume is a list of your work history. It's a list of your work history. Okay. A CV is very, very similar. We're just going to talk about resume in this class, not CV, because they're almost the same. They're almost the same. Okay. Then we're going to talk about preparing a cover letter. A cover letter is a letter that shows your interest in a job. Shows your interest in a job. So we're not going to talk about cover letters too much today, but next week we will be talking a bit about cover letters. Then we're going to talk about preparing for interview. Preparing for the interview. How do we prepare for interviews? And possibly for your final assignment, I'm going to have you guys do a little interview. If I can find a way to really make it work, we're going to prepare for the interview that way. Okay, so today we're just going to focus a bit on preparing a resume or a CV, a curriculum vitae. Okay, so resume writing. So I thought this was funny. This was kind of popular in American news a few years ago. There was a Korean guy who wrote his resume for an American company, and he couldn't really speak English well, and he didn't have the best experience, but his cover letter for his resume was really, really cute. He said, I just want to travel to the United States and I'm strong like a bear. I can fight a bear. And I think the job eventually hired him because he seemed like such an interesting guy. Maybe don't write this funny thing in all of your resumes, but I think this guy, the way he wrote his resume, he really stood out. People really remembered him and then they didn't forget him. So thinking about writing your resume, you want to make so your information really stands out so that people remember you. You want to be remembered so when they think about who is the best for this job, you stick out in their mind. So even if you're not the first choice for the job, they still might pick you for their second choice. They still might pick you for their second choice, right? So this guy, again, he wasn't the most qualified necessarily, but I'm sure he eventually got a job, right? Because it's hard to forget the resume that talks about fighting bears. It's very hard to forget a resume that talks about fighting bears. Okay, so think about how would you make yourself stand out? How would you make yourself stand out? So resume writing 101. Now we're going to talk a little bit about resume writing, sharing important information about your skills, what you can do, your education, where you studied and how you studied, and your experience. Anything in your life or in your jobs or in your education that has helped your experience for this job. That's helped your experience for this job. Okay? So you want to make your resume pop. So when we mean pop, we mean we want your resume to explode. So I can tell you when I was in the universities and I was in charge of choosing resumes for new professors. And I can tell you some professors were kind of good, but their resume didn't really pop. I didn't remember their resume. They seemed like they might be good teachers, but I didn't really remember them. I couldn't find a reason why I would choose them over another person. Now, the person who says they're going to fight a bear, well, don't write you're going to fight a bear, but I think it might be a good idea to keep some information in there that, that makes people understand who you are and why you're such an interesting person to choose for this job. So that's why we say, make your resume pop, pop, explode, right? To make your resume explode. Think about details about you that are really going to make your resume pop for the person who's reading it. So when they put down your resume, they're going to remember you at the end of the day. Pop quiz. So here's a little quiz. What is the initial amount of time an employer takes to review an applicant's resume? So how long when an employer, when the boss is looking at a resume, when the boss is looking at a resume, how long does he look at it? Take a minute. What do you think? Answer 15 to 20 seconds minimum, 45 seconds maximum. So most of them, they look at for 15 to 20 seconds. Only 15 to 20 seconds. Wow. Not very long, huh? Right? And at the most, they're looking at it for 45 seconds. So that means if they really, really like you, they're looking for only not even 1 minute. What do you think that means for you? If they're only looking for 1 minute, what should you do for your resume? What should you do for your resume if they're only looking for 1 minute? Well, that's right. You should make your resume pop. You should make your resume interesting for the people who are reading it. You should make your resume interesting for the people who are reading it. So you just need to think about how you do it. How are you going to grab their attention in 15 to 20 seconds? How are you going to make them care about your resume in only 15 to 20 seconds? That can be a little bit difficult, right? That can be a little bit difficult. And I can tell you, as the person who reviewed the resumes, well, I tried to look longer than 45 seconds. I always tried to look for at least 1 minute. At least 1 minute. But sometimes it can be a little bit difficult when you don't have that much time. And if the boss gets a lot of resumes, right, then it's going to be pretty difficult. Well, why do you need a resume? Why is it so important to have a resume? Well, first of all, a resume is a marketing tool. Remember, marketing is important, just like in our advertisements, marketing for Nike, but you want to market yourself to Nike. You want to market yourself to FIFA. You want to market yourself to your favorite football team. Sell yourself. Why are you the best person for this job? Why are they getting a good deal by choosing you? Well, you want to get a job, right? You want to start your career. You're sports business majors. You want to get started. But remember, for this, just think you want to get an interview, not a job. Just right now, worry about getting an interview. You might not get the job, but getting an interview is step one. Step one. And once they know you, even if they don't choose you the first time, they might choose you the second time. So you want to get an interview, get a chance to sell yourself. Get a chance to talk about yourself best. So right now, don't worry about getting a job. Just worry about getting your first interview. And remember that it can be a requirement of many organizations. Most places want you to send some kind of a resume, right? Most places want you to sell yourself with a resume, with a piece of paper. It's a good way to, get a balanced view of everybody so the boss doesn't just choose their friends. Sometimes that happens, right? The boss chooses your friends. We want to avoid that. We want a transparent society without corruption. So putting in a resume, it doesn't make sure that that never happens, but it makes sure things are a little bit more fair. A little bit more fair, right? Okay, well, a resume has many different sections. Many different sections. So think about the sections of a resume. So the header. This is at the top. This is at the top of your resume. Okay, it's like in the border. In Microsoft Word and Hangul file, they have an automatic header, right? So usually it's already done for you. When I was younger, we didn't have this kind of stuff, but you guys have it very easy now. It does your resume for you. It does your resume for you. So what should be included in your header? First, include your full name. Remember, if you're writing a resume in English, then your name should go in English with your item first and song last. Your permanent address, where do you live? Or where is your office? You know, where is the place they can send a message to you? Your email address, remember, make sure that it's an email address that you use and check often, okay? That's why in my class, in the videos, I give you my real email address and not my NAMSOL address, because I don't check the NAMSOL email because, well, I think it doesn't work that well sometimes. So I always give you guys the email that I use most often, which is a Gmail email. And of course, include your phone number because you want them to be able to get a hold of you very quickly. You want them to be able to talk to you and get a hold of you really quickly. Therefore, include the telephone number where they can reach you most of the time. And where should this contact information go? Again, it's called a header because it's at the head of the page. It's at the top of the page. So always include it at the top when you're writing a resume, not at the bottom or the side, but generally speaking, at the top of the page. Okay, just like this. So Susie Q, student. She lives at 1234 River Run Road in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's a state in the United States. Her phone number and her email, both where she can reach any time. So this is the header. As I said, Microsoft Word or Hangul file, they will automatically place it. In fact, Microsoft Word, I know, already has many templates which you can use to make your resume already. So those are pretty easy to use, right? Pretty easy to use. But I want us to be able to practice writing our own even without using a template. Okay, objective. What is an objective? Well, objective is a kind of goal. And what is a statement? Objective statement. A statement is a sentence. So what is your objective for this? Well, your purpose. Communicate the type of position that you're interested in. I'm interested in a sales position at your company. I'm interested in a coaching position at your company. I'm interested in a marketing position at your company. Okay, so in the bottom there are some examples. They're kind of blah, 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 but I think you guys can understand it. Think about where you want to work exactly, what you want to do exactly at this job. And how is that related to your experience and your education? How is that related to your experience and your education? Is it related? Well, it should be. If it's not, then you're choosing the wrong job, right? So the examples say management trainee position with a specialty retailer, technical sales with an energy-related industry in the Southwest, long-range goals of regional sales management, to obtain a position as field service representative with XYZ Software Corporation. So to get a position with sales marketing with a international sports marketing company. Think about if you were choosing your objective for your dream job, what would your sentence sound like? Be specific as possible. So objective, to obtain an entry-level human resources position. So now we've already added to the header and we have our objective or goal. That's a very short goal. You could have a little bit of a longer goal, but we're just trying to be simple right now so we can keep it as simple and easy as possible, okay? Okay, Susie Q student, let's move on. Think about your education. So you're going to share with your education where you went to school. Okay, I think in an international company, I think in Korea it's really important where you went to university. It's important in America, or in England or in Canada, but it's not as important as it is in Korea where you went. So include the name of the institution. So Namso University and in Cheonan, South Korea, or Cheonan Republic of Korea. So you want to include the location of your university in case they don't know where it is. If you went to Harvard University or Seoul National University, most people know where that is, but you still want to include the place, the exact place where it is. So in America, that's city and state. You guys might write your city and country, right? You don't have to write Chungnam-do. Cheonan, Korea would be good enough. And the name of your degree. So a bachelor's of science in sports marketing or sports management. Bachelor's of arts. I'm not sure you guys are a bachelor of art or a bachelor's of science. But anyways, you could just say bachelor's. That's the lowest level degree, right? Your 4-year degree, a bachelor's in sports management. Okay. Now for our assignment, you might imagine yourself 5 years in the future when you have a daehagwan, when you have your master's degree, whatever that is in computer science or marketing or management. And then list your degrees in reverse chronological order. Well, what's chronological? Chronological means time. So reverse chronological means like backwards in time. So reverse chronological, it would mean something like 욕순행적 구성. So backwards, reverse chronological order. So with your most recent goes first, and your least recent goes last. That's reverse chronological order, okay? So the date or your expected date of graduation, if you didn't finish university first, then you can just say, what day do you expect, or what month and year do you expect to graduate? You're going to put it on your resume. You're going to put it on your resume. Okay. For our assignment, we're going to imagine that we are 5 years in the future. So we're not going to worry about expected dates of graduation, right? Expected dates of graduation. Okay, and then I want you to think about your GPA. Your GPA. So so you're going to think about, when you think about this GPA, well, what is that in Korean? I think in Korean that's 평균 or 평점, right? So what is your overall GPA? You still want to list it so they know that you what level you studied to. It doesn't have to be exact, and it's not the most important thing, but they still want to know it. So you're going to say 3.0 or 3.5. Most American universities use a 4.0, so 4.0 as the highest, but some use a little bit different, and Korean universities use some different ones as well. So you say 3.0, not 3.062 or 3.512. Okay. And I put that there, summa cum laude. That just means like it's a very high honor. So any special honor you got, you want to include. And high school information, actually, for this one is not really important unless you did something really great in high school. You can include it. I'm going to say for you guys, not too important, okay? Unless you did some really great sports activities in high school. That's maybe more important in America, where we play a lot of sports in high school, and maybe less important in Korea, right? Okay. So we're progressing through this a little bit more now. So we have our header, we have our objective, and now we have our education. So University of Tennessee, Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, Human Resources, expected graduation date, and our GPA. So we have all of the important information that we need so far. Okay, and now we need to think about your experience. You're going to use that word experience. What is considered experience? Well, for this resume, they usually mean full-time job and part-time job. So we say full-time job and part-time job. You guys say, right, for part-time job, Arbeite. So we include them also. Self-employment. Self-employment. What is self-employment in Korean? What is self-employment in Korean? Do you remember? Right, it's being employed by yourself. You are the boss. You are the boss, right? Maybe in Korean, what 자유업, 자영, free employment, you guys say. Any volunteer work that you've done. So that's work where you don't get paid. I think it's very important in some jobs that you have some kind of volunteer experience, right? 자원봉사. In anything in your university, if you did some special practicum, that's like a internship or something, you want to include that also into in your experience. Okay, so include your job title. My job title was secretary. My job title was office worker. My job title was assistant marketing intern. That's the name of the job. The dates of your employment. So when were you employed? From what day exactly? The company you worked for. What was the name of the company? Capitalize it. and the address. So there, city and state. Well, in America, you choose city and state or city and province. But you guys, if you're applying for a job abroad from Korea, you're probably going to include the city and country. But if you lived in the United States, then if you go abroad and you live in the United States and you work a job and you try to get another job, you might want to include city and state. Okay, so I think in this sense it's not that different from a Korean resume, right? How is a Korean resume different? There are some big differences, but not too many. Not too many that you can't tell the similarities between them. Okay, so list your responsibilities. List your responsibilities. So you're going to use bullet points. So responsibility is, what did you do at that job? What did you do at that job? What were you in charge of? Bullet point, you're going to use a bullet point like a 종, like a little period. And start each line with an action verb, right? An action verb, like a 동사. So if you're still there, you're going to use the present tense. If you're not there anymore, you're going to use the past tense. And choose different verbs. So you're going to say organized paperwork or studied employees or worked with new employees, marketed new ideas. So you're always going to use a powerful 동사, action verb, an action verb to describe your responsibilities at your job. And then you're going to fix the skills and experience for the position you're applying to. So if you're applying for a marketing position, but you worked at Loteria, how can you make your Loteria skills fit your marketing position? Well, Loteria is, you sell things there, right? So you worked and communicated with customers. You communicated with customers. I think that skill fits marketing because marketing works with customers, right? Okay, and be concise while giving detail. Concise means be exact. Don't talk too long. Talk very briefly and shortly and very powerfully. Talk briefly and shortly and powerfully, okay? This is going to be the best way to list your responsibilities. The absolute best way to list your responsibilities, okay? Okay, so Susie Q student, she's got her header. She has her objective that lists her goals, her education, which includes location, what kind of degree she got, her graduation date, and her GPA. Then it includes her experience that's relevant and what she did. She assisted with updating. So look at that. Take a look there. This is her action words, right? Assisted with updating. Screened job applicants. Observed or watched the human resource manager interviewing applicants. Then she worked at Abercrombie & Fitch. It's a kind of clothing store. She trained new employees. Participated in interviewing. Oversaw inventory. And opened and closed the store. And then the same thing here. When she was a student worker at the university, she performed internet research, organized office files, responded to office questions, and answered a multi-line telephone. She answered the telephone. That's important experience to know how to answer a telephone correctly in a business. So these are all, you can notice they use so many different action verbs and they really describe their experience well. So you guys are going to need to use a dictionary or use a Google to find the good action word to describe your experiences. That's going to be kind of example of your creativity and your intelligence if you can think of a good word to use in these situations. And I saw some of your essay questions on your midterm test were done really well. You chose a really good word. So I think everybody in this class is very capable of this. Very, very capable of this, right? Okay, so the next part we need to think about is your honors and awards. Do you have any special honors and awards? Well, I think you guys in sports business, you played a lot of sports, so you definitely have a lot of honors. You definitely have a lot of honors. So I think, I'm not sure, honors in Korean is Yongjeon, is that right? Like some special award that you've gotten from the university or some, not like exactly an award, but some special accomplishment that you had specifically that makes you different. So you're also going to do that by date in the reverse chronological. So from now back to the oldest award. From now back to the oldest award. And then you're gonna ranking by which one is the most important for your career 목표. So you got an award for best new coach for the local high school baseball team. You got an award, and your job you're looking for is for a coach. So this award is going to be very important on your resume, right? It's going to be so important on your resume. Therefore, you want to include it as the first thing, right? It's the most relevant. It's the thing that's going to make your resume pop and make people remember it. Make people remember it. So you think about your professional affiliations and activities. So affiliation means like something that you're a part of. Something that you're a part of. So like you're part of the Korean Football Association fans, or you're part of the Suwon Football Club fans, or you're part of the Namso University Business Club. Okay, so anything, activity or club that you're part of that you think is important, you want to include the information about it. You want to include the information about every club activity you were part of that did it. So if your church group did a volunteer where you guys teach Cambodian children how to play basketball. You went to Cambodia, you guys teach for free Cambodian kids how to play basketball. I think is very relevant. It's very important to include at your resume. Okay, so put it the most important thing first. Don't say member of blah 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 church. Talk about your leadership role. So I led the volunteer group for Cambodian basketball youth. And tell us the exact name of the organization. So Suwon Christian Church or Namseol Future Business Leaders Club. Tell us the exact name and put the most important thing first. Emphasize, focus on your leadership role. Okay, so now we have almost our completed resume, right? Almost a completed resume. We've got our objective under our header, our education, our relevant experience, so our important experience, and then other experience, not important, then our honors and our awards, and at the bottom we have any of our special activity, okay? So these honors are kind of very, very American style. They're kind of like the type of groups you get into for having good grades in American university. They might be a little bit different in Korea, but think about them specifically for Korean honors in Namseol University. You got a scholarship or you're a part of a special group based on your grades in Namseol University. In any activities that you do at Namseol University or another group, a volunteer group, and so on. Okay. So resume do's. Resume do. First, use action verb. Remember action verb. Succeed, explained, worked, understood. Use short and concise sentences. So short and concise. What does concise mean? Concise. Concise means like kind of yeah, it means short and brief and says exactly what you wanted to say. So like 간결한 or 축약된. So make it concise. Don't talk on for 3 sentences about your experience. Just give us one short sentences. Use exact amount. When you talk about money or percent, use exact amount. Keep your resume easy to read. Keep resume about 1 page, not 2 pages, not 3 pages, 1 page, because remember we said only 45 seconds. Resume don'ts. Don't use a pronoun. Remember what is a pronoun? Pronoun is words like I, me, my, you. Don't use them. So you're going to talk the sentence. You don't say I worked an office computer, blah, blah, blah. You're going to say worked and used office computer in a business setting. Okay. Do not include references. So do you know what a reference is? Well, a reference is a list of people who know you. A list of people who know you, who can say you're a good student, or you're a good coach, or you're a good worker. Sometimes students ask me to write their reference for them. So this is sometimes it's important, but usually, at least in the American resume, we just write at the bottom, if you need references, please tell me. We don't include them with the resume usually, unless they ask. Okay, so don't include them. Don't put too much information that we don't care about. We don't need to know everything about your church volunteer group. Just tell us the important information that's very relevant for us. It says, do not make misrepresentations, okay? Don't make misrepresentations. So that means don't lie. Don't lie. For our assignment, it's okay you lie a little bit because we're just imagine what is your experience in 5 years. Okay. And for the American resume, it's really important, don't include your personal information. Okay, so for American resume, you're not going to put your ID number. You don't need to put your gender, your age, your height, your weight, if you're married. And please, in American resume, British resume, no sajin, no photograph. Okay, so for this assignment, please, no photographs. We don't use them in American resume. We think it's kind of bad to include it, right? Judging it. And I think you guys can understand that because I know when you come to the Zoom class, you don't want to show your face. Why, right? You think somebody's judging your appearance. So we want to avoid any of those things. So don't include your ID number, your hakbun, your age, nothing on the resume. Just the important information for your job. Your gender and your height and if you're married or not and how beautiful your face is, it's not important. You can do this job well, right? So don't include this personal information. Okay, so here's an example one. This is like a one that's from this is one that is from the Microsoft Word. So you can see here, if you have Microsoft Word or if you search Google, you can find it. And these are kind of fun because you can just sort of enter it into, you can enter your information in here. This is a really, really basic one. I like the other ones better. It's a little bit less basic, but this is like so basic. This is, you can turn something like this in, but it's really, really easy. This is really easy one. You're not going to get April if you turn in one using this, but it's the kind of basic that we can understand. It's a good starting point for your resume, okay? It's a very good starting point for your resume. Okay, so please begin to try to write your resume. Please begin to try to write your resume. You can use a fictional, not real information, but don't make it too crazy, okay? Don't make it too crazy. Imagine, be realistic, but imagine yourself in 4 to 5 years. So imagine after 4 to 5 years, you finished the military or you finished university, you had your first 1 or 2 jobs. What might your experience be like in 4 or 5 years from now? Okay. Maybe you worked for 1 or 2 years and you want to search for another job, or you had an internship, or you traveled abroad, you studied another language in another country. Okay. Imagine yourself in a few years and you're trying to get another job. Imagine your resume. Think about the dream job that you want to get. Think about your dream job. Okay. So it can be anything related to sports or business. And I want you to upload it by May 8th to our class portal. Upload by May 8th to our class portal. Okay, and I'm going to look at your creativity, your grammar, and spelling, and that you follow the basic directions of a resume. You follow the basic directions of a resume. Okay, so you can just start working on it a little bit. It's not due for a few weeks. It's not due for a few weeks, but I want you to take your time on this one. It's going to count as a kind of homework grade. Okay. Any questions about your resume? Please send me an email. And don't forget about our Zoom class coming up. And don't forget to take the survey about the midterm test, okay? Okay, guys, I have fun with this lesson talking to you guys. We're almost finished. Hang in there. Fighting.